Exactly what Ronaldinho said that drove Messi to tears, sending massive shockwaves through the entire global soccer community right now. It is a statement that has sent chills down the spines of millions of fans across all 5 continents, because Messi has just announced his retirement from soccer. He is walking away forever. He simply cannot take it anymore. He made this painful announcement through heavy tears, his voice breaking as he admitted his father's passing stripped away the very last reason he had left to keep competing. But then came Ronaldinho. What Ronaldinho told Messi in front of the entire world is easily one of the most powerful and shocking things ever heard in the history of professional sports. I am going to share every single word and detail with you right here, but that is not all, because Pep Guardiola, the one man on earth who truly understands Messi's raw talent better than anyone else alive, has also broken his silence with a shocking statement that will leave you absolutely speechless. Stick around, because you will not find the details of what comes next anywhere else on the internet. To really grasp the massive weight of what just happened, you first have to understand exactly what drove Messi to make the hardest decision of his entire life. Let us get straight to the point. On August 8th, Jorge Messi, Leo's beloved father, passed away. This was the man who held his hand when he was just a tiny, fragile kid running around Rosario. The man who put him on a flight to Barcelona when doctors warned he needed a growth hormone treatment they could never afford back home in Argentina. The very man who signed that famous contract on a paper napkin, changing the history of global soccer forever. Jorge Messi was never just a father. He was the engine, the fuel, the ultimate reason Leo laced up his boots and stepped onto the pitch every single morning. And when that engine went cold on August 8th, a vital part of Messi died right along with him. Look, I understand why some might say he is a professional athlete and must keep his personal grief separate from his career. But anyone who claims that has absolutely no idea what Jorge truly meant to his son Leo. We are talking about a father who stood by his side during every massive milestone, every single goal, every Ballon d'Or, and that ultimate World Cup triumph. Jorge Messi was always the very first person Leo called right after lifting any championship trophy, the first person he looked for in the stands, and the first to tell him, "Keep pushing, you still have so much more to give." And now that person is gone. Messi has confessed with painful, raw honesty that without his father, he simply cannot find the strength to keep going. And do you know what truly breaks my heart the most about all of this? It is that Messi did not make this announcement in some polished press conference, wearing a suit and tie with every single word rehearsed. No, Messi spoke with a heavy, broken voice and swollen eyes, pausing constantly as he fought to avoid collapsing completely. He explained that his father was the primary force driving him to play soccer, that every single time he stepped onto the pitch, he knew his dad was watching him with immense pride, but now he looks up at the stands and sees only a cold, empty seat, a seat that no one will ever fill again. Can you even begin to imagine what that feels like? Can you imagine walking out to play, knowing the one person who believed in you most is no longer there to watch you? This brings me to a very direct question, and I really want you to give me your honest answers down in the comments. Do you believe Messi has every right to retire now at 39, still performing at the absolute top of his game? Or do you think he owes the sport one final season? Because there are two very distinct sides to this debate, and both have incredibly strong arguments. Stay right where you are, because the answer to that heavy question is about to be delivered in a brutal way by two people who know Messi better than almost anyone else alive. But before we get to that, let us talk about the sheer Messi's shocking announcement has had on the entire global soccer landscape, because this was not just another piece of sports news. This was a massive geological shift. Social media platforms have literally ground to a complete halt. Messi's emotional statement has officially become the most talked about post in the history of Instagram in less than 6 hours. More than any World Cup final, more than any blockbuster transfer, more than any dramatic scandal. Just Messi announcing, "I am retiring." It has completely broken the internet in a way we have not seen since the legendary Diego Maradona passed away. Fellow players, legends, managers, club presidents, and even prominent politicians, literally everyone has reacted. But there are two major responses that stand far above the rest. The first one, which actually brought Messi himself to tears, came directly from Ronaldinho. And this is exactly where I must ask you to be patient, because Ronaldinho's message is incredibly long, it is deeply profound, and it contains one specific moment that will absolutely give you goosebumps. I am going to share every detail, every sentence, and every emotion with you, but I will not drop the main bombshell just yet, because to fully appreciate what Ronaldinho said to Messi, you first need to comprehend the unique bond that connects these two titans of the sport, a bond that runs far deeper than most football fans could ever imagine, because Ronaldinho is not just some former teammate, nor is he merely a guy Messi shared a locker room with at Barcelona. Ronaldinho was actually the very first person to recognize what Messi would eventually become. When Leo first joined the Barcelona senior squad, he was just a terrified, skinny kid who barely spoke. And Ronaldinho, who was widely considered the undisputed best player in the world at that exact moment. The guy who packed stadiums just with his smile did something very few superstars of his massive caliber ever do. He took him in, shielded him, and kept feeding him passes during practice. He told him, "Don't worry, you have a brother here." And there is one iconic image that perfectly captures it all. Messi's very first goal for Barca. Who provided the assist? Ronaldinho. And what did Messi do right after scoring? He jumped onto Ronaldinho's back, clinging to him like a kid hugging his big brother. That picture was not just a lucky, random moment. It was the beginning of an incredible friendship spanning over 20 long years. A bond that, with Ronaldinho's recent emotional statement, proved itself to be one of the most genuine relationships this sport has ever witnessed. And you know what absolutely fascinates me? When Ronaldinho finally left Barca, their paths split and they chased their careers on entirely opposite sides of the planet. Yet, their deep connection did not break at all. If anything, it only grew much stronger with every single passing year. They kept calling, texting, and meeting up whenever they could. Ronaldinho has openly stated on several occasions that Leo Messi is, without a doubt, the greatest player he has ever watched. Just think about how beautiful that is. Here is a man who was once the undisputed best on earth, openly admitting someone else is superior. No jealousy, no envy, just pure love for the game and real deep affection for Leo. You need to understand this fascination. Otherwise, what happens next will not hit you the way it truly should. Now, before we examine every single word Ronaldinho wrote for Messi, we have to talk about another massive statement that has just recently shaken the entire football world to its core. Because Pep Guardiola, the manager who shaped the greatest version of Messi we have ever seen, also spoke out, and his words are absolutely brutal. Guardiola, who stepped away from the Manchester City bench quite some time ago now, has come forward to say that Messi simply cannot retire yet, and the intense way he expressed this carries an incredible amount of weight. Guardiola literally stated that the football world still wants to enjoy Messi's unique talent, and that the entire sport genuinely needs him to keep playing. He admitted he has never met, in his whole life as a player or coach, a footballer as complete as Leo Messi. Pay very close attention to that exact word, complete. He did not say the best goal scorer, he did not say the best dribbler, or even the best playmaker. He said complete. And coming from Pep Guardiola, a manager who has coached legends like Xavi, Iniesta, and even Busquets, along with De Bruyne, Haaland, and other players of massive, towering talent, to say Messi is the most complete player he has ever seen in his life. That has a level of significance that is incredibly hard to overstate. But Guardiola went even further, adding what I consider the absolute quote of the year. He said it is unbelievable that Messi, at 39 years old, is still out there playing as one of the very best players in the entire world. Do you understand what he is saying? This is a manager who has spent his entire life studying footballers, watching hundreds of world-class superstars play right in front of his eyes. He is saying a 39-year-old guy is still performing at the absolute elite level. That is not normal. It literally goes against the laws of nature. And that is exactly why Guardiola cannot understand why Messi would retire now. Because if you are still one of the best, why stop? Why deny the world something that absolutely nobody else can deliver? Let me ask you, do you actually agree with Guardiola on this? Or do you believe that Messi has every single right to walk away whenever he wants? Completely regardless of whether he can still compete at the absolute highest level? Because this is a massive debate with no easy answer. On one hand, we have respect for the man, his grief, and his deep personal pain. On the other hand, There is the harmless selfishness of the fans, who just want to watch the greatest of all time play a little longer. Tell me your thoughts in the comments because I want to read every single perspective. And now the real bombshell is coming. Yes, Guardiola's statement was indeed incredibly powerful. But what Ronaldinho said is on a completely different level. It is a raw level of emotion that actually brought Messi himself to tears. This has shocked the entire football community, and I am certain it will get you emotional too. So please, get comfortable because I am going to share every single detail. The moment Messi announced he was leaving football behind, Ronaldinho did not even wait an hour before reacting. But he did not just post a quick tweet or release a standard press statement. He did not write some cold, carefully calculated message at all. Instead, Ronaldinho recorded a deeply personal video message directly for Messi, a message that later went public and has since circled the entire globe. The very first sentence of that message already reveals everything about the kind of person Ronaldinho is, and the deep bond he still shares with Leo. Ronaldinho started by saying that he truly understands Messi's pain. He knows what it feels like to lose a father, the man who taught you everything and guided you by the hand to where you are today. And here is a crucial detail many people do not know. Ronaldinho also lost his own father at a very young age. His father, Juan de Cis Moreira, passed away when Ronaldinho was only 8 years old. So when Ronaldinho tells Messi, "I understand you," he is not just saying words, he is speaking straight from the gut. It comes from the dark experience of someone who knows exactly how it feels when the very ground disappears from under your feet. But what comes next is where things get truly emotional, because Ronaldinho did not just offer his basic condolences. He did not stop at simply saying, "I am so incredibly sorry, Leo." But Ronaldinho did something infinitely more courageous. He begged Messi not to retire, and the raw, beautiful way he chose to do it will absolutely break you. Ronaldinho reminded him that he still has so much joy left to give to every single football fan on this planet, and that millions of people all over the globe still turn on their television sets just to watch him play. He talked about the kids pulling on that number 10 shirt because they want to be just like him. And the grandfathers telling their grandkids, "Look closely, you are watching the greatest of all time. Remember this moment when you grow up." He told him that all of this, all that pure magic, that incredible legacy which is still being built day after day, simply cannot end like this. It cannot just stop. It cannot end with a tearful goodbye without one final epic chapter that is worthy of the greatest player in the history of the sport. And do you know what absolutely shattered me? Ronaldinho looked straight into the camera, staring right into Messi's eyes, and told him that he is his absolute biggest fan. Think about that. Ronaldinho Gaucho, the man with the eternal smile, the ultimate football wizard, the guy who did things with a ball that looked entirely out of this world, just told Messi, "I am your biggest fan." Do you realize how massive that is? This is a man who could easily claim he was better in his prime. A legend who could have the biggest ego in the universe, and nobody would even question it. Yet he tells Messi, "I am your fan." That, my friends, is what real greatness looks like. And that is exactly what separates Ronaldinho from other retired players, the ones who see someone better than them and immediately start criticizing, tearing them down, or looking for flaws. But wait, because we have not even reached the exact moment that made Messi break down in tears yet. We still have not got to the single sentence that completely shattered the Argentine live on air. And that sentence is coming up next. Ronaldinho, after telling Messi he is his biggest fan, after reminding him of everything he truly means to the entire football world, decided to take it a step further. He made a concrete request. Not a gentle suggestion, not some friendly advice, a direct plea. He begged Messi to keep playing at least until the 2026 World Cup. A plea that comes with a specific date, a clear goal, and a deep purpose, so that the entire world can witness him in one final tournament, representing Argentina and leaving everything on the pitch on the grandest stage of them all. And do you know why this plea is so incredibly powerful? Because it is not selfish. He is not saying, "Stay so I can watch you play." He is saying, "Stay so the world can see you. Stay because there are millions of people out there who deserve to see you in the Albiceleste jersey one last time." It is a plea that goes way beyond personal friendship, directly appealing to the deep responsibility Messi holds, whether he likes it or not, to the history of sports. And when that kind of message comes from Ronaldinho, it carries a massive weight. It was such a heavy emotional blow that Messi simply could not hold it in anymore. Right then and there, the tears started streaming down his face. That was the exact moment the man who has won 8 Ballons d'Or, lifted the World Cup trophy, and scored well over 800 career goals, turned into a vulnerable, deeply emotional human being, weeping because his soul brother was begging him not to walk away from it all. But Ronaldinho did not stop with 2026. And this is the part very few people have actually talked about in detail, because he went even further, urging Messi to keep playing all the way until the 2030 World Cup. Yes, you heard that right, 2030. That would mean Messi playing until he is 43 years old. And before anyone calls that completely insane, Satine, just think about what Guardiola said. Even at 39, Messi is still easily one of the best players on earth. If he can pull that off at his current age, who is to say he cannot keep going for another 4 years? Who would actually dare to put a limit on a man who has spent 30 years shattering every single limit in front of him? And the most deeply emotional part of this second request is the exact reason Ronaldinho gave. Because he told Messi he completely understands that his father was always his biggest champion. He knew Jorge Messi was the one who gave him strength when his body wanted to quit, and when the fierce criticism poured in, and when injuries threatened to clip his wings. Ronaldinho said, "I know it was your father who kept you standing." Then, with his voice cracking with emotion, he added, "But now I am the one asking you. Now I am the one telling you to keep going, keep playing, keep chanting us, and keep doing what nobody else can. In the name of the deep friendship we share, in the name of everything we have lived through together, and in the name of everything game has given you, and everything you have given back to the game. Please do not stop now." And right there, that is where the world stood completely still, because Ronaldinho was not just using clever rhetoric or reading a rehearsed speech. He was speaking straight from his heart, talking directly to his little brother, the young kid he protected when he first walked trembling into the Barcelona dressing room more than 20 years ago, telling him that the world still needs him, and that while the massive void left by his father can never truly be filled, millions of people are completely ready to pour all their love into him if he just decides to stay a little longer. And honestly, this brings me to a thought I really want to share, because so often in football, we get completely obsessed with the goals, with the trophies, with the numbers, and that is fine. That is just part of the game. But what happened between Ronaldinho and Messi reminds us that behind these superstars there are real human beings, people who suffer, who lose their loved ones, who doubt themselves, who weep, and who sometimes do not need $1 million contract or another shiny trophy. What they really need is for someone to say, "I am right here, do not go." Speaking of being there, let us look at Pep Guardiola again. There is a massive detail in what Pep said that heavily reinforces the weight of Ronaldinho's desperate plea to Messi. Guardiola did not just say that Messi is the most complete football player in history. He did not just call it unbelievable that he is still performing at 39 years old. Guardiola went much deeper than that. He talked about what it actually meant to train Messi on a daily basis. What he said completely dismantles the myth that Messi relies solely on raw talent. Pep revealed that Messi was always the very first to arrive at training, and the last one to leave, that even after scoring 3 goals in a massive Champions League match, the very next morning he was grinding in the gym as if he had not played. And in all those years, he never once asked for special treatment. He never once said, "I am Messi, I am not doing this session." He was the quietest, most humble guy in the locker room, the one who did the most. That rare mix of supernatural talent and a blue-collar work ethic is exactly what makes Messi completely one of a kind. Not just because he has the best touch, which he does, and not because he reads the game better than anyone else, which he absolutely does, but because on top of all that, he is the one who wants it most, who gives everything, the one who respects this sport the most. And that is exactly why the football world is not ready to let him go yet. And right here, there is a question burning inside me, because so many people are comparing this moment for Messi to the retirements of other absolute legends of sports, like Michael Jordan, who walked away and came back 3 separate times, like Zidane, who left the pitch in that World Cup final with a headbutt to Materazzi, or the tragic departure of Maradona, who faded away amidst heavy controversies and massive scandals. My question to you is, does Messi deserve a better ending than all of them? Do you believe the greatest player of all time deserves a final chapter that truly matches everything he has given to the game? Or does it not even matter how he leaves, because his legacy is already carved in stone? Tell me down in the comments, because this debate is wide open, and I want your thoughts. Now, let us look closely at something almost nobody is talking about, which is absolutely key to understanding why Ronaldinho's message had such a massive, earth-shattering impact. It is the deep connection between the loss of Messi's father and the loss of Ronaldinho's own father. Because Ronaldinho lost his father when he was just a little kid, and that tragedy shaped his childhood and his entire career in a deeply painful way. Ronaldinho has admitted in several emotional interviews that the famous smile everyone saw on the pitch was his way of honoring his late father, that every single time he nutmegged an opponent or scored a breathtaking goal or pulled off some impossible piece of magic, he was thinking of his dad, wanting him to be proud wherever he was. That is exactly what Ronaldinho said years ago. And now, seeing Messi go through that exact same agonizing grief, Ronaldinho's old wound has been completely ripped wide open. So his words are not just empty sympathy from a friend, they come from someone who lived in that exact same dark abyss, survived it, and is now reaching out to Messi, saying, I know it feels impossible, I know it feels like there is no reason to go on, but there is. And football is one of those reasons. Do you understand now why Messi broke down in tears? He did not cry because of the request itself. He cried because he knew Ronaldinho was speaking from a place of absolute, raw truth, not just polite sympathy. He wept because Ronaldinho is likely one of the very few human beings on earth who truly understands the depth of his pain. And he cried because deep down, a part of Messi does not want to walk away. A part of him still wants to step onto that grass, to feel the pitch beneath his boots, to hear the roar of a packed stadium the moment he touches the ball. But his grief is so overwhelming that that passion is buried under mountains of sorrow. What Ronaldinho did with his message was dig deep, digging until he found that spark of Messi that still wants to play, whispering, I am here, come out, the world is waiting for you. And pay close attention to this, because it matters. Ronaldinho did not tell Messi to just get over his father's death and keep playing as if it were easy. It was not some cold, empty message telling him to stop crying and get back out there. Ronaldinho showed immense respect for Messi's heavy grief. First, he acknowledged the pain. He said, your father was your absolute engine, I know that, and absolutely nothing will ever replace him. And only after validating that intense sorrow did he make his request. That is exactly what makes Ronaldinho's words so incredibly powerful and unique. He does not dismiss Messi's suffering. Instead, he points to a path where he can channel that profound grief into something beautiful. He tells him, play for your father, score goals for your father, and lift those trophies for him. Make sure that every single time you step onto a pitch, his legacy grows even larger. And that is an incredibly powerful idea, because it turns raw grief into pure fuel. It transforms a painful absence into a living presence through the game, giving Messi a brand new reason why. To go on. You are not playing because your father watches from the stands. Now you play because your father is watching you from somewhere much higher up. And now, I want you to stop for a second. Really think about this. Do you know of any other sport, any other moment in athletic history, where a retired legend made a plea like this to another superstar, sparking this kind of massive global reaction? Let me tell you right now, no. What has just unfolded between Ronaldinho and Messi is completely unique. It has absolutely no precedent, and it will probably never happen again, because for something like this to occur, you need a bond lasting over 20 years. A massive mutual respect, a devastating loss, and a completely irreplaceable talent. And all of that has come together in this exact moment of history. But wait, because there is still something else I have not told you yet, and this is probably the absolute most shocking detail from everything that has unfolded over the last few hours. Messi did not just react to Ronaldinho's emotional declaration with tears. It was much more than that. According to sources closest to the inner circle of Messi, Leo has replayed that message from Ronaldinho several times, not once, not twice, but repeatedly. Every single time he watches it, he breaks down just like the first. Now the question everyone is asking is simple. Has Messi finally changed his mind? Has Ronaldinho actually pulled off the impossible? Is Messi really reconsidering his retirement? And I am not going to lie to you here, right now, absolutely nobody has a definitive answer to that question. Messi has not come forward to confirm or deny anything since his initial announcement. But there are signs, there are clues, there are quiet details suggesting that something very powerful is shifting deep inside the mind and heart of Messi. And those details are exactly what I need to tell you. Because if Messi ultimately decides not to retire, if he chooses to keep playing even just until the 2026 World Cup, that statement from Ronaldinho will have been the ultimate turning point, the exact moment when football history completely changed its course, all because of a message shared between two lifelong friends. Sources close to Messi leaked that Leo is in a deep process of reflection, that the sudden death of his father hit him so incredibly hard, his decision to retire was almost an automatic reflex, a sudden impulse born from the deepest, most agonizing pain he has ever felt in his life. But as the days started to pass, surrounded by the massive wave of love he received from the entire world, and especially because of those words from Ronaldinho, Messi is starting to ask himself if walking away right now is truly what his father would have wanted. Because think about it. Would Jorge Messi really want his son to abandon football because of him? Would the man who dedicated his entire life to making Leo succeed want him to stop when he can still win everything? For anyone who actually knew Jorge Messi, the response is a flat, absolute no. Jorge would want Leo to keep going. Jorge would have wanted Leo to play until his body finally said enough, not until his heart was in too much pain to continue. And that is the brutal, agonizing paradox in which Messi finds himself trapped right now. To retire is to honor his immense pain, but to continue playing is to honor his father. Now let me be brutally honest with you. You know me, I am not holding back. Personally, I believe Messi has to keep playing. I am not saying this just as a fan or as someone who selfishly wants to watch him play on a whim. I say this because I truly believe in my heart that football is the ultimate therapy Messi can have right now. Football is what deeply connects him to his father. Football is where Jorge stays alive in the memory of Leo, and walking away from the game right now would feel in some way like losing his father twice. Once in real life, and then a second time on the very pitch where they shared their absolute greatest moments of joy together. Ronaldinho knows this. That is exactly why he made that plea. That is why he summoned the bond they share, the memories they built, and those incredible years of laughter and goals. Ronaldinho knows that if anyone on earth can actually convince Messi to keep playing, it is him, because Ronaldinho was the one who originally taught Messi see that football is pure joy, not a burden, actual joy. And if there is anyone capable of reminding Messi of that during the absolute darkest hour of his life, it is the legendary man who turned joy itself into a whole style of play. Now let us address the giant elephant in the room, because there is this one burning question that nobody dares to ask out loud, but absolutely everyone is thinking. If Messi decides to continue, where does he play? Does he stay at Inter Miami or return to Barcelona for one last dance? Does he head over to the Saudi Pro League for a contract that would easily top 300 million euros? Or does he simply stay active to play the World Cup with Argentina and then retire after? These questions do not have any answers right now, but what is crystal clear is that if Messi decides to continue, there will be an absolute transfer war. Because even though he is 39, we are talking about Lionel Messi, the absolute greatest name in the history of soccer, the one player who packs stadiums, sells out shirts, and pulls in television audiences of hundreds of millions of people worldwide. And in modern football, that influence is worth its weight in gold, or euros. That is exactly why we are here. Just think about that number. Think about it. A contract worth 100 million euros a year in Saudi Arabia versus a historic return to Barcelona with a symbolic salary of just 5 million euros a year, but with a massive media and commercial impact that would generate 10 times more. Which would you choose? What do you think Messi will choose if he decides to keep playing? You definitely have to let me know down in the comments. But let's get back to the absolute heart of this story, back to the real essence of what happened. Because we can talk about contracts, about massive figures, clubs, and World Cups, but what actually matters here is something else entirely. What truly matters is that a man has lost his father and is completely broken. And another man, someone who knows exactly how that deep pain feels, has reached out to him in the most beautiful way possible. What matters is that Ronaldinho told Messi that he is not alone, and in a world as cold and competitive as professional soccer, it is a gesture that is worth far more than all the Ballon d'Or awards and World Cup trophies combined. And I want to close this chapter with something that truly touched my heart, because at the very end of his message, Ronaldinho told Messi something that perfectly sums up their deep friendship and everything it has ever meant. He told him he was asking this simply in the name of their friendship, not for the sake of soccer, not for the fans, but strictly in the name of friendship. It was like he was saying, Leo, if you don't want to keep playing for soccer, if you don't want to do it for the fans or the titles, do it for me. Do it because your friend is asking your brother, the guy who carried you on his back the day you scored your very first goal. And that, my friends, was the exact moment that completely broke Messi down, because you can easily resist logical arguments. You can resist professional demands, but you cannot resist when your soul brother looks you in the eyes and says, please stay. And now for the ultimate question, the one that will split the comment section into two completely opposing sides, the one I want every single one of you to answer. Do you believe Messi should listen to Ronaldinho and keep playing until 2026, or maybe even 2030? Or do you think Messi has earned the right to walk away now and retire in peace, to leave the pitch behind and spend his time with family, grieving his father without the constant pressure of having to perform on a field? Because there is no single right answer here, only deep emotions, strong arguments, and a debate that will rage on for weeks. I want to read every single one of your thoughts. Whether you stand with Ronaldinho, or whether you support Messi making his own decision, or if you have a completely different perspective that has not even crossed my mind, write it down, debate it, but keep it respectful, because at the end of the day, we are talking about a man who just lost his father.